Armageddon presents The Daily. My thoughts on prophecy, on the books of Daniel and Revelation. So, hello. This is the second part to our the 4 in prophecy. This is going to be a rather short one because there's not a lot of material to present. Because this aspect of the 4 that I'm going to be talking about today, there's very few examples of it given in prophecy, at least that I can think of right now. Maybe once I show this to you, or show this to the audience, that maybe you can come up with other examples. I can't at this point, although I know that this really is an aspect of the 4. We will actually see a related aspect, very similar related aspect later in the next few presentations, and I think it will make it clear that this is not just what do you call an aberration. It's not something I'm making up. Anyway, so let me bring up the slides and get myself out of the way. So, of course, recall what we talked about last time, how we ended our last presentation. So the 4 of Daniel 2, right? There's an opposition. There's 2 sides. There's the statue of 4 metals versus the 4 Hebrew boys, of which the stone is, it's really, it is those 4 boys. So there's more, of course. Alright, so what's another aspect of the 4? Well, we have this characteristic of the 4, that there's a transition or a transformation from 3 to 4. So 3 become 4, we see that in Daniel 3. So we have the 3 friends of Daniel. Nebuchadnezzar gives a law that everybody's supposed to worship this image of gold. They're the only ones who don't bow down. And this transitions into this where the 3 are thrown into a fiery furnace. Nebuchadnezzar says, "Didn't we throw in 3? How come I see 4? And the 4th looks like the Son of God." So clearly we have this transition from 3 and then it becomes 4. Now, the reason that this is short presentation is because I can't actually think of any other cases in Daniel and Revelation where you have this exact thing happening. That is, you have a transformation from 3 to 4. We'll see that there is other aspects of the 4 where there is a 3 to 1 split, but we don't have 3 actually being transformed into 4. But when you see the other evidence, you'll see that this is really related. This 3 transformed into 4 is related to this aspect of the 4 being a 3 to 1. Anyway, so there is one more occurrence that I can think of that's like this, though. It's in the flood. In the flood, you have this same sort of 3 to 4 transformation. If you look at the story of the flood, what we find out is that God gave mankind basically 120 years to choose to be saved. Right? They had a probationary period of 120 years. And during that time, Noah was preaching. But if you look at the genealogy, what you find out is that during this 120-year period, of the godly men, the only ones who are actually adults are Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. So you have like 3 preachers. Shem, Ham, and Japheth are born at the beginning of this period, so they only reach adulthood around the time of the flood. So you have the three preachers, but then when you get into the ark, I mean, once again, you have this idea of four again. Yes, of course they have wives, but the fact is they're like four men or four couples, right? So you have Noah and his three sons. So once again, you have this same idea of three becoming four. Now, I mean, aside from the three transform into four, is there anything that's that really unites the two stories? Not really. I mean, at least it doesn't appear to be. I've attempted to sort of, unite the two. So the first half, I guess, if you take the two aspects and put them together, then you've got this preaching. You've got basically an opposition that's happening during the period in which the three are exist, right? So you have a law from the government that says, break God's law, obey man, obey our dictates. And it's not just like, I don't know, don't eat broccoli or something like that. The law that they're making is specifically one that attacks or goes against God's law. God says, don't make idols, don't worship them. And in the story of Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar makes an idol, and then he tells everybody to worship them, or to worship it. But then you have Noah, and Noah is preaching for God, saying, "Come to God and be saved." Right. So you have this preaching of the salvation, or preaching for people to save themselves, and then you have this message going out from the government: do something that's going to destroy you. Where God specifically says, don't do this. Anyway, I think you can see how there could be a complete picture there, that both of those things are happening at the same time, and they are in opposition to one another. One is calling the world to God, and the other is calling the world to Satan's side, right? Disobedience to God. One's calling for obedience to God, and the other's calling for disobedience to God. And then it transitions to 4. And once again, perhaps the connection's a little more there for the second part, because in the second part, there's essentially persecution or peril. And during that period of persecution or peril, God is there to take care of his people. Definitely in the story of the flood, as everybody else except for the 4 are destroyed. But definitely in both stories, Noah and his sons are in peril because of the flood. And Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah are in peril because they've been thrown into the fiery furnace. So anyway, definitely the second part is about God's protection of what has of the 3 that have become 4. Anyway, yeah, so this is the very short presentation because, as I said, I can't think of any other cases or examples of this in prophecy. Hopefully, someone will mention that they can think of another example. But well, to be continued. That's all I can say. That's it for tonight. But as I said before, we will see a characteristic that the 4 can be defined as 3 plus 1, or 3 to 1. And we'll see that maybe in this, anyway, in the presentations to come. So I hope this was a blessing to you. I hope that you've gained new insight. And until next time, bye.